So welcome to The Real Build. I'm your host, Bill Ryman, your broker builder. And today I have a guest coming from New York City. He is a co-founder of KayJay Consulting. He is a real estate entrepreneur with hands-on experience as an investor, capital raiser, and a coach, which we're going to get into heavy today. Beginning with baseball cards, which we're going to also talk about because that's one of my passions too, at age 6. He has been a lifetime investor using his high school job at a hardware store to fund his first brokerage account at age 14. Impressive. After almost a decade of working on Wall Street, he began investing in real estate in 2018 when he realized that he wanted to achieve financial and personal freedom. Through rethinking of his core goals, he worked intensively under the mentorship of KayJay, a co-founder of KAYR. He went from 0 to 60 units in under 2 years while investing in multiple cities. He's extremely interested in self-development, myself included, which we'll get into that too, and helping others reach their full potential through looking within themselves to find their innate worth and gifts. Joe Meares, thank you for coming on. Heck of an intro, brother. Welcome to The Real Build.
Thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to hire you to come around with me to all my events. Thank you so much for the kind words. Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah, appreciate your time today. I've had, so with you, and we're just going to obviously see where the conversation goes. I've had quite a few investors on my show, from home flippers to multifamily and so on. So with you, I really want to get deeper into it for the audience. I feel like obviously my show is more directed towards kind of the consumer, the client. So obviously what you're doing is so important. Real estate is crazy right now. There's a lot of people diving into what you're doing. You're obviously a coach at it. You've had a lot of success since a young age. So that's why I definitely wanted to have you on today. So I'm pumped. But with all that being said, let's hear about your background a little bit. So who is Joe Meares?
Well, so you brought up the baseball card stuff, but yeah, I've always kind of had a mind for investing. Like always just was like into money, I guess. I remember one time growing up, my mom caught me trying to sell my old clothes to my younger siblings when I was like 5. And she was like, "What are you doing? Like, we're not doing this. We're not having a yard sale inside the house." So yeah, I've always been into this kind of stuff with the baseball cards. I remember the highlight of my month was getting the Beckett pricing book. And when I was probably like 12 or 13, my dad was just like, you know that you can have this feeling every day if you just look at the newspaper, but you got to look at companies instead of baseball cards. So that was how I got into stocks. And yeah, ever since then, I've kind of just been into investing. But I think growing up, one thing that I was really good at that has helped me a lot from an investing standpoint, and I didn't realize I had this skill growing up, but it kind of became clear to me after I got into self-development, is that I've always been kind of good at like visualizing a goal and then going for it and just, manifesting it, kind of just like assuming that it's going to happen and then manifesting it. So like I grew up like super chubby to the point where like I had a doctor's appointment one time around the time where I opened that brokerage account, where the doctor like grabbed onto my rolls and he was like, "You like mom's home cooking, don't you?" And I was like, yeah, I do. I don't know. But so at that point I was like, can we curse on this podcast? Yeah. I was just like, I'm tired of this shit. Like I want to get in shape. So I bought 2 5-pound dumbbells. I started working out, and my freshman year of high school, I grew like 3 inches and lost like 25 pounds. So I've always been someone who just like wants to change things up. I was always like a really nice kid growing up. I was literally like an altar server. And when I got to college, I wanted to get into boxing, and my friends and family were like, "Are you sure you don't want to get into boxing?" Because I was just like, I'm like a really like nice, like wholesome kid. And I was like, I'm going to show these people. So I got into this boxing tournament. I ended up knocking multiple people out. Like I ended up winning the tournament. So that was another thing I did. And then even when I started with real estate, it was like, people are like, because I started investing in Indiana and I live in Manhattan, and people were just like, "Why are you buying houses in the middle of nowhere in Indiana?" And I had a couple of people that were on my side, but most people were just like, "Are you okay? Like, are you having like a quarter life crisis or something?" And I just knew that I could make it work, and I did it. So that's I guess that's like a quick background on like who I am, like how I think about stuff.
Yeah, no, and it's impressive, man. Because I mean, let's start. obviously with the sports cards too. I mean, I was the same way growing up. And growing up as a kid too, I always found different ways to kind of make some money, because obviously growing up too, I've talked about my past is I always had to work for what I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even as a little kid, I remember just finding like golf balls on the side of a golf course and just reselling them to golfers, you know,
Nice.
always trying to figure out something. I mean, I've said this in college, when I played football, I was always broke, and I'd find ways to make some money. One of the times I used like a girl's bra wire in a quarter slot and I washed it. I charged some of the other football players less to do their washing loads. That's probably illegal. So we'll just, but anyway. But no, I mean, with the sports card thing too, like growing up as a kid, we traded them. We weren't really thinking like investment wise. It's crazy where they're at now. I mean, they're actually an investment or an asset now, because our generation grew up with them and they're just exploding. But it's just like you figured out ways, and that kind of led you to where you are today too. You know, and you said another thing too, visualization, like, you know, kind of dreaming and reality would always happen as you were growing up as a kid, from being overweight to, you know, getting in shape and proving people wrong. You always kind of put that chip on your shoulder too, which is kind of, now you're proving people wrong in the real estate space as well. I'm the same way. You know, it just seems like the more success you have and the climb up to it, people ask you why are you doing this? Or the one thing I hear constantly is, how do you have time to do all this? Right. You know, and what I've really started appreciating more than anything is my time and how I spend it. Like me and you were just talking, you said you don't have cable. Like that's another thing. That's probably a waste of time to you when you can be doing something else to better your time.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think there's this phrase that I really like where it's like, man has two lives. The first one begins when he's born. The second one begins when he realizes he only has one. And I think I went through that around the time where I started to get into real estate, because it's funny, like once you get into self-development, you start to think about like, there's always like something about money in the self-development. And then usually when someone's trying to build wealth, like it always comes back. I mean, not always, but almost always comes back to real estate. So, yeah, but the time stuff is huge. I mean, I another phrase that I like is like, you can't manage time, but you can manage your actions. And I remember, it's funny, like in high school, I was a big nerd growing up. Like I always got good grades, and I was like a very studious kid growing up. And I had this day planner in high school that they sold in the bookstore, and I would just like write down my homework, and I would just pick the easiest one and just knock it out. Like next thing, knock it out. And I didn't know like what an important skill that was until I stopped doing it, because I got into college and started like partying and stuff. And all of a sudden you have all this free time. But once I got into real estate, really got back into that. And yeah, you really just have to like, you have to have an action oriented mindset. Otherwise the days, the weeks, the month, they just slip away from you. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And it's crazy too. And the more you keep doing stuff and to better yourself and so on, like I said, you appreciate time, because it's like you blink and it's like, man, it's 12:30 at night. I got to wake up at this, you know, and you wake up and do it all over again, and the days fly by. I mean, I say it with the building business, and the same in real estate too. It's like, you know, you start on a project and it's like, we're doing bigger homes and they take a while here down in Florida, and then I blink and they're done. It's like, you know, 18 months later, I'm like, man, I remember talking to these people. That was 2.5 years ago when I started, and it's boom, you know, you're done.
That's so true. I mean, that's how I feel with starting in real estate too. When I started, I was like, oh, it's going to take so long to get all these because I had like from the get-go, I had like big aspirations about how much cash flow I wanted to have and all this stuff. And the funny thing is, most people don't start to try stuff like this because they say, oh, it's going to take too long. But the funny thing is that the time passes anyway. So it's like, you may as well just start and see where it goes. But yeah, I think one thing that kind of helps with slowing the time down a little bit, because, you know, especially with how digitized everything is nowadays and how accessible we are, I try to take like an hour a day where I'm just out, I'm like off the grid. And I think having that time to kind of actually like let your thoughts percolate, like let what's actually going on in your mind kind of ruminate a little bit. It actually, for me, it makes it seem like I'm getting more life out of my day, because, you know, if you just are constantly like screen, it just goes. So
Yeah.
I think that's one way we can help with that stuff.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of that too. At least dedicating a little time to just being alone and kind of shutting everything down. I really learned. I just did 75 hard, and you have to do a 45-minute outdoor workout. Well, mine, I do an outdoor walk, and that would kind of be my time just to shut everything down. You know, not be on anything, not be on social media, just away from it all, and just kind of, whether I'm visualizing or doing something alone. You know, it's just I actually looked forward to that.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the best, because
Yeah.
you realize, like, honestly, I think sometimes people don't realize that the way that we live nowadays, and I say we, like the general population, is like, it's not really living, because you're constantly like in your head thinking about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, or you're totally like using escapism by like just watching Netflix nonstop, and you're just like living something, you know what I mean? Like, if you go for a walk without anything and you were like, oh, that's like a cool tree, or like, those are some nice flowers, like, you're actually like taking in the things around you. And it's, I don't know, it's cool once you get into that stuff. It makes you, I think it just makes you a happier person in general.
Yeah, and it makes you appreciate stuff too, and really reflect on things. And it's I recommend it to everybody. I mean, some form of meditation or quiet or something too, especially if you're working like nonstop business. You just need it. It's
Yeah,
time to get away.
it's a good mental reset. But I saw your transformation pic. That hard 75 worked well for you, apparently. I don't, what all is in that besides the walk?
2 45-minute workouts. So Andy Frisilla, I'm part of the Arte Syndicate. He actually was the creator of 75 Hard. So there's a lot of guys in this group called the Arte Syndicate, which is a big entrepreneurial group. And basically a lot of guys did it. I was always kind of putting it off for, it was like 2 years, I think, that I kept just making excuses. Like, I had this event coming up, or this thing was coming up, or plus being in real estate, being around people, construction, I'm a social drinker. So like going to golf events, stuff like that.
Or the sandwich truck.
Yeah. That, and just like, so I kept putting it off. And finally I got to the point where I was like, all right, I got to do this. Like, I need it, and so on. So it basically what it involves is 2 workouts, 45 minutes each. One has to be outdoors, gallon of water a day, which I kind of do normally, 10 pages of a self-development book each day. And then also a progress picture each day. You don't have to post it online. It's just keep track of your kind of results. And then I think I'm missing something. So, you got to, of course, the biggest part, no drinking at all, no alcohol.
Wow,
and you got to stick to a diet too. So no cheat meals. Wow. Go outside. If you fail any one of those tasks, you got to start all over again. You fail.
Oh, damn. Okay. So it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
That's
it's all or
nothing. Congrats then.
Yeah. You can tell the people that failed because their pictures usually don't resemble what, the hell they went through. But it really, if you do, I mean, it'll really eat at you. It should eat at you if you do fail something, because I mean, it's a mental challenge more than anything. Like, it really, physical obviously comes out of it, but it's more mental than anything, getting your schedule down. And it really did, like I said, appreciative time, like how I spend my time, what I'm doing. Obviously I have a girlfriend. Okay, I got to dedicate time to her. I know what time she likes to go to sleep. So then after that time, I go back to, now I'm doing cards, and that's kind of when I do my card business, or edit video, or do podcasts. So it's good, man. I recommend it to everybody. It really structures you and keeps you in line, because you got to like stay on that momentum and that schedule.
A constant reminder. And I think they say it takes like 30 to 60 days to build a habit. So it's probably just long enough where those things get embedded.
Yeah.
Did you celebrate when you finished?
Oh yeah.
That's good.
It was like 1 beer or whatever. I was feeling it. So
absolutely.
Lightweight, but anyway, it's like
nice.
But no, I definitely celebrate. But I definitely see the differences too. Like, I'm still eating very clean. I'm very still staying strict. I got to work out in the mornings. That's just part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like this morning, I had to be up early. Then I had to take my dog to the vet, so I didn't have a chance to work out. But I'm probably going to do it after this. But it just like not working out in the morning, I could feel it. So there's a lot of stuff that habits are formed, yes, and it's just so beneficial. So,
That's awesome.
for sure.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like it.
But anyway, let's get back into you. So why real estate? That's one question.
Yeah.
I really wanted to ask you, out of everything you could have done, obviously there's so many benefits to real estate, but why real estate and why coach people too?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the reality is when I hit 30, I think sometimes when you hit the round numbers, you start to get a little like introspective, retrospective, reflective, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And I was like, what do I have to show for my 20s? And the reality is luckily I had good mentors. Like my dad and my uncle always told me to live below my means. So I'd been saving a lot of the money that I was making. My 9 to 5 is I work on Wall Street. I have an equity research job, which basically is I cover 20 technology companies, and we tell our clients who are like hedge funds and pension funds whether or not we think they should buy or sell the stock. And we give them like our insights, and we talk to the management teams, things like that. So I've been saving up, but the future of a career in finance is not what it used to be. Things kind of changed around the time of the financial crisis. When I got into, so I graduated from college in 2010, and when I got into college, essentially what the seniors told us was, look, you get a 3-4, you can pick from the bulge brackets. You can work anywhere you want. You can go, do M&A banking. You can work at a trading firm, whatever. Financial crisis happens, and then it's like you're not even getting a look unless you have like a 3.8 or a 3.9. So I actually graduated without a job. And then I took the CFA exam about 3 weeks after I graduated, the level 1 of the CFA, which is a chartered financial analyst. If you guys aren't familiar with it. And it's a 3-part test. So like those 3 weeks were like probably the worst 3 weeks of my life. I was cramming like everything I learned in college. I studied finance for 3 weeks. And then I took this test. I ended up getting a job at a Spanish investment bank the September after I graduated. And so I went through the whole, work on Wall Street. Like the first job was debt capital markets. And then I've worked at this equity research position for literally 7.5 years now. But about 3 years ago, I just, had this moment where I was like, I need to figure out something where I'm not working till I'm 60, because I don't see myself doing this for the long term. And the reality is, if you want to live in New York, you have to make a certain amount of money to get comfortable if you want to have a family, right? So around this time, I'd also gotten into self-development. I talked about how I got into shape when I was younger, but like in my mid-20s, I kind of like went off the rails. I was, drinking probably more than I was definitely drinking more than I should have. Like I had those habits from college. And then, you're going out, you're eating pizza, you're eating bagels in the morning. Like it's New York. There's like the best bagels in the country here, best pizza. And then I'm eating like, bacon, egg, and cheese and stuff from the cart. So I actually got big again. And then I got sleep apnea, and I just like had kind of lost my way a little bit. Like I didn't have my goals anymore. Because when I was growing up, I was always like, all right, I want to lose weight. And then it's like, I want to get into, I always wanted to go to Notre Dame. So like I got into Notre Dame and I went there for college. And then after school, it was like, all right, I got to finish this test. So I finished the CFA exam, the 3 parts, or I think I was 24, 25. And then there was this like 3 or 4 year span where I kind of just like was goalless. And I think that when you don't have structure or direction, you kind of get listless, and then you're kind of just get depressed. And honestly, like I was overweight, I was depressed, I had sleep apnea, like I wasn't sleeping enough. And I was just like, I need to do something here. So I got into self-development, and that kind of made me realize, okay, if I want to like get my life back, I need to have financial freedom. How do I get financial freedom? And the thing that just kept coming up over and over and over again was not crypto and not GameStop, but real estate. So I started like trying to figure out how to get into real estate, and I got super lucky. So I always say, like, when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And there was this guy that was working out of our Boston office around the time where I decided I wanted to get into real estate. And a couple of other guys in our office had heard that he was killing it. Like he had been investing in Philadelphia since 2009. And so he was nice enough to do a phone call with us. And I remember I was on vacation with my family up in Cape Cod, and I went into the parking lot and I took the call, and I was expecting like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting what happened. I was expecting something like super complex that I wasn't gonna be able to do, but I wanted to, be courteous because he was being nice enough to take some time out of his weekend to talk to us. But then he started explaining his process, and I was like, oh shit, like this is super straightforward. He's just a really hardworking guy. He's got good interpersonal skills, and he's got a goal. Like he's just going for it. And so we joke that like it's like the best and worst phone call ever happened to him, because I started annoying the hell out of him like every day after that, like texting him, asking him questions. And I just lucked out that he was cool, like the type of person that just instantly started mentoring me and coaching me. So that conversation was August of 2018, and I bought my first rental property in October of 2018. And then we ended that's KAYR, that's my business partner. We ended up growing the relationship. I became one of his debt investors. Then I became an equity partner with him. And then we decided to, because I'm not a rocket scientist. And once I realized like this was a portable framework that he had, I was like, we should teach people how to do this. Like people want this result. They want financial independence. And so we put together this, I think it's an amazing program that, you can take in a day, and we give you the glove. All you got to do is put it on. It's like the Power Glove from Nintendo back in the day. But yeah, that's kind of like the genesis of why I got into real estate.
For those of you guys that are listening that don't know what Nintendo is, but no, I mean, I can relate to you in a lot of ways off your story. Like I was the same way, like getting out of college, drinking, doing, like just having no place, nowhere to go, no goals, nothing, just kind of just doing what I could to make some money, getting by. And it really took like a lot. Like I went through a lot prior to going into self-development. And then when I finally got some structure and trying to figure out, okay, I got to lay out my goals. I gotta have a plan for my future. Especially like you said, once you kind of hit 30, you're like, all right, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And
you realize you don't have unlimited time.
Exactly. And it's like, I wish I would have done a lot of this in my 20s, but hey, it is what it is. Oh. And there's no looking back on it. But I relate to you in a lot of ways of what your story is and everything. As far as, coaching and everything and mentoring and so on. Let's start here. So I've had past investors on. I'm personally not a real estate investor. I invest in other stuff. I'm always making I'm a big believer in making your money work. Obviously, a home builder, yes, we have spec home projects, stuff like that. But as far as multifamily, all that kind of stuff, I've had past guests on and they've spoke about it too. But it's like, that's something that's very intimidating to somebody that has little to no money. They don't think about, all right, I can buy a 10-unit building with 10 doors and rent at this amount and this amount. That's a lot to go into somebody's mind or head and so on. A lot of people, but what you're doing is great. And that's why I want to have you on. So it's like, what is the process for somebody, that doesn't have a lot of money? Like how, they take your course, they learn, okay, now are you teaching them what to do as far as financially, where to get money? What if they can't get money because they have horrible credit? What do they do?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we go through all this stuff in our course, but the reality is we always say, like, in real estate, you really need 2 of 3 things to be super successful. The first of those things is grit, right? You have to work your ass off. So regardless of, whether you have money or not, like if you're willing to work your ass off, you can make opportunities for yourself. The second one is experience or knowledge, right? So obviously when you're first starting out, you don't have either of those things. You can get knowledge through the transference of experience from someone like a coach, or you can just read it, or you can read a lot of books. Like I'm very into like one of the coolest parts I thought of what you were describing in the Hard 75 is the reading every day. I do the same thing. Like I try to read 10 pages of real estate stuff every single day. So you have grit or experience. And the last one is money. Like you definitely do need money. Like it's a capital intensive business. But if you have two of those 3 things, you can make it work. So like my business partner growing up, he grew up in abject poverty. Like he literally had no money. to the point where he was, homeless at some points of his childhood. But he busted his ass and he learned as much as he could, and he had a ton of grit. So when the time came, he figured out how to scrape the money together. But I think people in general just overestimate how much money you really need to get started. So just to give you kind of a case study, the first house that I purchased out in Indiana was $50,000. So 50. So it was a 2-bed, 1-bath. I put 25% down, so 12,500 down. And then we always say that you want to buy places that we call them easy breezy, beautiful cover girl houses that it's not a tough reno on the first one. You don't want to do a full gut on your first rental property. So the place needed some paint. It needed some new flooring, a little bit of touch up here on the windows, nothing crazy. So the whole rehab, because it was in Indiana, it's like cost of labor is cheaper out there. Cost of supplies cheaper. The whole rehab was like $5,000. So when you factor in like closing costs and everything, I'm out of pocket for $20,000. Now, I'm not saying that's chump change, but to get started, I think most people think you need like $100,000 or $200,000 to get started in real estate. The reality is you just don't need that. And then I don't know if you guys talk about the BRRRR method on here anymore, but it's like you buy, refinance, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat.
Okay.
So basically, you buy a place you buy a distressed asset in an area that's a good area, and then you rehab it, increase the value. So on that house in particular, 6 months later, I did a refinancing. So it appraised for $67,000. So basically, I got a check for $10,000. So I got half of my initial investment out of it on my first one. And I can take that $10,000 and roll it into another property. So we're really big on refinancing. Like we don't flip anything. We always say it's really tough to find great investments. So we're holding it for the long term. We want that monthly cash flow. And when you do a refi versus selling or flipping a property, you don't pay taxes on that money that you pull out. So I think in order to get started, we always say this too, like you don't have to be great to get started, but you got to start to be great, and you got to start somewhere. So I think the reality is people kind of just overestimate how much they really do need to get going.
So when you're refinancing and obviously rolling that money into another property, basically that's why it's tax free, correct? You're not taking that money and just putting it in your pocket to spend.
Well, the reality is the bank's going to ask you what you're using it for, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going to come knocking down your door to figure out what you actually did with it. I put it back into properties because I'm trying to grow my portfolio. But if I wanted to go to Vegas and put it on black, I could probably do that. I could probably do that too.
It wouldn't be wise to do. Yeah.
No, I would not.
So on the investment side of things too, like I said, I'm going to hit you with some questions that are just popping up top of mind. So
yeah,
obviously it's like a same trend with a lot of the guys that I've had on here. A lot of you start in kind of home flips and then you work your way into multifamily, obviously more doors, more money. So right. How do you initially get into multifamily business? Is that just by leveraging all that equity and it's stacking up and then you can afford let's say, what do you start? A 2-door build, 3-door, 4-door building, and then it builds up from there, same thing?
Great question. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there are multiple ways to come up with the money. I think that what you said is probably one of the best ways. So when you take that refinancing money, if you want to because you can keep growing ad nauseum with single families, but the reality is if you want to really grow, so when I started, I was like, oh, this is great. Like I just keep buying single families over and over and over again. But there's a couple of limiting factors. The first is that you can only have 10 mortgages, like conventional mortgages in your own name before you have to start doing LLC funding or like commercial funding. And commercial funding, the terms aren't as good. The other thing is that it's just like you get to the point where you've done, because I did in Indiana, I have 15 units. 13 of those are single families and one is a duplex. So after I got up to I did a couple where it was 3 single families at a time and one was 4 single families at a time. But the thing is, like, after you've done so many of these deal processes, you're just like, you can't, it's hard to see yourself just over and over and over again buying single families. So what you can do is what you said, you can take the refinance money, put it aside in a separate bank account and just start to stack that money up. and eventually roll it into maybe like a 6-unit or a 10-unit. The other big thing with multifamily is that, people think that they can just jump right into it. You hear a lot of people on Instagram, like, I want to do apartment buildings, I want to do multifamily, but the bank's not going to give you a loan for like $1 million to buy that big property unless you have really 3 things. You have to have like a lot of experience, like legitimate experience as an operator. And it's going to be different for every bank, but it's got to be like probably like 3 to 5 years of really good experience operating in real estate. The other thing is you have to have a net worth that's kind of like, it's going to be different depending on the size of the building, but you have to have a substantial net worth. You also have to have like a very long standing relationship with the bank, because they want to, trust you and know that you're going to partner with them. And like, banks don't like one night stands. Like, they want you to, be in more of a relationship with them. So for me, if I hadn't met my business partner, KAYR, I'd still be playing in little leagues. Like, I'd still be buying, because you can buy up to 4 units and that's still considered residential. It becomes commercial once you get 5 and up. And so in order to get into like, I bought these, I went from 0 to 15 units in Indiana, but last summer, him and I partnered together and we bought a 9-unit, a 12-unit, and a 24-unit. Excuse me. I would not have been able to do that without partnering with him. Okay. So that's really the benefit of having a coach who's also willing to partner with you, because you can really you can explode from a growth perspective if you get the right person on your side.
Yeah, and you're getting a lot of years knowledge worth, and past investors I've had on this show too. Majority of them got coaches, and because you're getting so much knowledge right up front too, and it's just or they're part of groups or so on. One guy talked about, his name was Tio. He was on my show. He's one of the first ones I had. He was talking about the Bigger Pockets podcast and how he started out listening to that and kind of worked his way into, meetings in his local area and met some people there. And it's networking. Networks your network's your net worth is what they say. And it's just getting out, meeting people constantly and so on. One thing you said, just to verify, you said you can only have up to, it's like you get buy and sell 10 properties and then you got to do a certain.
No, so you can have 10 conventional mortgages in your own personal name. So this is another misconception. A lot of people are like, I got to have an LLC. The reality is you don't really need to have an LLC. People tend to overblow the risk. So, but what I do is I have 10 single families that are in my personal name, and I have, hazard and property insurance on each of those houses. And then I have an umbrella insurance policy that covers everything. Gotcha. Because, when you get into LLC lending, that's commercial. And so you don't get as good of terms. You have usually it's a higher interest rate. And also the term of the loan is shorter. It's going to be like a 20-year, so that your monthly payments are higher. So we're very focused on monthly cash flow. So you kind of want to max that out.
Gotcha. So as far as getting cash flow, let's go back to that too. Just the initial part of it. What if you have credit problems? What if you can't get a loan from a bank? How do you get money to, let's say, get into it and then start building a credit or background or get a cosigner? How do you do something like that?
Yeah. So there are so many different ways to help boost your credit, right? You can go on Experian.com and do an Experian boost. If you have any sort of bad credit stuff on your report, you can send a goodwill letter to the people that have the bad credit on your credit report. You can also, we tell people that you should pay off your credit cards aggressively. You should ask for, an extension of your credit limit on your credit card, because one of the big factors in your credit score is your credit utilization, which is the amount that you have outstanding divided by your total available amount. Make sure if you ask for that though, that they're not going to do a credit pull before you do it, because that will hurt your score, obviously. So there are many, many things, and we go over this in our course as well, even more than this, that you can do to increase your credit score. Another thing is something that I did when I started out I did private lending. You can go to family and friends who trust you, and you can scrape money together like that. If you really want to find the money is out there. I understand people that have, credit issues, you got to get your credit squared away. Your credit score is a big, big thing when you're getting into real estate. So, but it's not a death sentence if you have a bad one. You can definitely jack it back up.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great answer too. And then the family and friends thing too. I mean, it's something, you know, like there's people always come up with reasons why, but if there's the money's out there, like you said,
Yeah.
definitely out there. It's just figuring out, it's the connections you can make too. If you have friends or family, or just meet people, get out there, start talking to them, start saying, if you contribute. I think I had somebody on this show too that said just meet people and show you can contribute to them, work for them free, kind of work for them for free for a little bit, be a part of their business, their real estate business, and learn from them too.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. So like I came from a banking background, and when I started working with my mentor, KAYR, he needed help with, like slide decks and things like that. So I was just like, I'll do whatever, like to learn from you. So that's huge. Like adding value to someone who you think can help you in the long run is, you're not doing it in a manipulative way, but you actually want to help the person. And look, the energy you put out comes back to you, whether that's, like just, helping someone or even a money perspective. I think a big thing that people are concerned about, honestly, with asking for private money is rejection. And I got rejected from a lot of people that I asked money for. But the reality is, like, every no is one step closer to a yes. And I think there's an awesome story about, like, Jeff Bezos was trying to raise $1 million for Amazon, and he had to raise like $10,000 like 100 times or something in order to get there. It's like something like that. It's if you want to make it happen, like it's out there for sure.
And imagine those people that gave him $10,000 a piece had a piece of that investment.
They are probably happy people right now.
They're very happy they gave Jeff some money. So, but I mean, one thing I pulled from your site, which I wanted to cover this too, is you said with KayJay Consulting as your coach, you will learn how to leverage your resources, relationships, and hard work to acquire positive cash flowing real estate assets that will not only grow your net worth, but also grow your passive income, enabling and to achieve financial freedom and build a legacy. Just talk about this a little bit, what you guys are doing as coaches, because it is so important. I've had guys in the business on that are doing this, but I haven't had people that are actually doing a coaching program too. So hear more about what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think we've been talking about self-development, and once you get to a point where you're comfortable from a financial standpoint, you realize how much not being comfortable really affects people's psyche, right? Like, money's not the most important thing, but when you don't have enough of it, it's pretty damn important. And when you do have enough of it, where you've more than hurdled your expenses, and it's not really like a concern of yours, it gives you this just like relief feeling, like this really like joyous relief, kind of calm feeling. And if you kind of just want to spread that feeling around, right? And so I honestly, for me, like the course kind of just sells itself, because it's very numbers based, but you're also selling like this feeling transformation, right? You're going from, I'm going to have to work in this job for another 40 years. Oh my God, like this is going to suck, to like, realistically, you could be done by your, mid 40s, even earlier than that, if you go after it hard. Right. So, what we're trying to teach people is, you don't want to buy, a bunch of liabilities, and you have to delay your gratification a little bit. Right. So like, I could have been taking that money that I was saving, and I could have been buying Rolexes or some dumb, could have bought like, I don't need a car to Manhattan, but I could have bought like suits that I didn't need, or, go on crazy extravagant vacations, or, lived in a much nicer luxury apartment building. But the reality is, like, you do that, and then you kind of you set yourself up for a life where you're always kind of behind the 8 ball. So what we say is, look, you bust your ass for 10 years. I mean, it's not going to take that long, but realistically, like, if you do that for 10 years and you just buy like a property or a couple properties a year, you can set yourself up where you're totally independent. So, the quick math really is, if you buy like the property that I started with, it was $50,000, but that place rents for like $725. And so I'm cash flowing like $200, $300 a month from that. And if you get enough of those, you're getting a nice little paycheck every month. Like, you get 10 of those, you got $2,000 coming in that, it's on top of your regular income. You stack that for a year, and you got another down payment. You got 10, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got another down payment and the rehab. Mm-hmm. So people, I think nowadays there's this really big influx, or not influx. I think this happens every time the market starts to do super well, where people are like, they want the easy money's already been made, but they want that quick money. So like you see this with, and I'm not knocking the original investors of the guys who like figured out that GameStop was going to do this. Like, I think those guys are geniuses. Oh, yeah. But there's a lot of people who like jumped in at the end having no idea, pretty much out of FOMO, because they're just trying to make a quick buck, which, look, I would love to make a quick buck too. But the reality is, if you just are methodical and pragmatic and disciplined, it's really hard not to succeed with real estate if you follow the right frameworks. So that's what we try to teach people. Like, you follow the framework that we have, you're going to be successful.
What you just said right there is huge, though, because it does take time. That's the thing, and it's a grind, and it's not something that's just going to happen overnight, because we're all sold constantly, especially with social media. You know, you scroll through that, it's instant gratification.
100%.
Constantly sold the guy sitting in his Lamborghini or leaning on a rental Lamborghini.
Yeah, exactly. They're all rentals.
You know, in Miami and so on. But that's the difference between you and what you guys are doing. You're not sitting there on a yacht, or, you know, just trying to sell your coaching program that way and saying, we're making millions in real estate, come join us, you'll make money overnight, blah, blah, blah. You see that so much. Join me, and people fall for it constantly because they want that. It's like you said with the GameStop thing. It's that people want that instant gratification. If I put $20 in, maybe I'll make a quick $100. Or if I put, you know, I saved up $5,000, I'm gonna put all $5,000 in, and tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna have $100,000. You know, it's like, then they wake up and it's gone. So it's just, you learn this, and I don't know if it can. I mean, I fell for those, like, not the, you know, guy leaning on a Lamborghini, but I fell for the stock market stuff like that, to where I thought I could make money fast, and I would buy, sell. I mean, I sold Amazon at $600. I should have held on to it, but I was impatient. You know, I was in my 20s investing. I didn't know it had long-term holds, all that. I just wanted money quick. Yep. So, and then when it went down, I was like, oh, you know, freaked out, pull my money out. You know, now I just sit. So it's just, it's like you said, though, there's just, people need to learn that it takes time, hard work, and a lot of dedication. That's why you don't see as many 20-year-olds driving Lamborghinis as you see these older guys that are in their 50s driving them, or 40s now. So, but those guys work their asses off to get there. And that's the thing. I'm trying to get one while I'm in my 30s, but I'm working my ass off nonstop. So it's you know, so, and I mean, that's one of the things. And then being comfortable too. It's like, you know, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable is one thing that I've kind of lived by too. And some of my mentors have actually said that too, is just you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable is going to put you in situations that you're going to, you know, have to thrive to make money. And I've made it more of a mission to myself of getting uncomfortable in this year and last year, and just doing things that I didn't want to do before, I would never see myself doing. But that's how you get ahead. That's how you develop yourself. That's how you keep pushing forward and building in every aspect. Yeah.
I think the really cool thing about real estate is if you stick with it long enough, you start to realize, because at first you're like, so what we, you know, the way that I was thinking about it first off was, you know, I had this free cash flow number I want to make every month. And then, like, you know, you start to go towards it, and you're not there in like the first month, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to take forever. But if you stick with it long enough, you start to see changes in your personality, in the way that you move, the way that you think. And then you just realize, like, it's so cliched and it sounds corny, but it really is, like, not about reaching the goal. It's what you become while you're going after the goal. And, like, real estate is really, for me, it's been amazing, because for me, one of my comfort zones has always been like, I always used to be very non-confrontational, and, you know, it was even hard for me to do calls at the beginning and like call people that were strangers. But, you know, if you face your fear like over and over and over again, it just kind of vanishes. And then you're like, okay, like if I could do that, like what else can I do? So yeah, it's I love that it become comfortable being uncomfortable. It's true. Like just because you feel a certain way doesn't mean you can't act. And I think that's why, I mean, that's a big reason why I respect guys who are in our military so much, because those guys, like, they're scared too. Like they're really scared of doing that shit, but they do it anyway. And it's just like, yeah, it just, it's very inspirational. It shows you like what the mind is capable of doing. But yeah, it's been cool. So like from the perspective of what I was talking about with the financial freedom and everything, like my business partner KR, he retired from his 9 to 5 at last August, and he wasn't even 40 yet. So the case study is there, like it works. And yeah, and the other thing is that we've already had students that are successful. Like one of the guys that I'm coaching, he purchased a 4-unit out in Indiana in December, and he actually closed on a package deal of 5 single families in one shot in January. And KR has taught many other people before we got before we formalized KayJay Consulting. I just happen to be one of his many students. So yeah, we just want to we want other people to feel the way that we feel, basically, and have the opportunities that we have. So the coaching thing was kind of just like a natural extension of what we're doing.
Well, it's smart. It's a smart plan. It's smart business too, but you're doing it right. I mean, you're not just trying to sell the fakeness of, okay, you can get rich quick if you come to us and this and that. You're being real. You're saying, hey, this is going to take a lot of work on your part. We'll give you the tools.
Yeah,
but you're going to have to put in the legwork. This isn't just something that's going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
You're going to have to utilize what we teach you. And that's normal. I mean, but it's right. So many people expect that it's like, all right, I'm going to sign up for this program. They don't utilize what you teach them.
Everybody wants the magic pill.
Yeah. And then they point at you that it's your fault because they didn't put in the work.
Yep. And so one of the other things that we do with our course is that we always, I've already used this phrase, but I'm going to say it again because it makes people remember, like, we don't like one night stands. So what we do is we do our virtual boot camp is a 1-day boot camp, right? It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The next one we have is April 17th. I don't know if this might not be out by then, but the thing is that we don't just do that course and then just say like goodbye. We actually check in with you once a month for the next 12 months, because one thing is you're not going to embarrass us, and the second thing is that we want to make sure that you're actually living up to the goals that we talked about with you during the course. Because like I think with real estate, more than many other businesses, you really have to win. Everyone wins together. There's a lot of like teamwork really does make the dream work in real estate. So we're big on continuing to develop the talent after we meet our students initially.
Yeah, and building that right team is key in any kind of business you start too, and having those pieces in place, which is huge. But you guys are just helping the process because of your experience too. So it makes sense. I mean, if somebody wants to pay to learn instead of kind of having to read books, open up books and learn on them, which they're probably still going to want to do, like you did yourself. You said it, I'm reading 10 pages a day. I did 10 pages a day with 75 hard. I continue to do 10 pages a day because I think it's important. I'm doing different types of books, personal development, stuff like that. But you're always learning. It's always just good to keep growing. You're keeping your mind working too. And that's the thing. You guys are teaching real estate because it's not an easy thing. It's not as easy as just buying a property and then selling it the next day for $10,000 more than you paid, unless you get super lucky, and that's like hitting the lotto. So one thing that popped in my head too, and obviously the market we were talking about this before the show a little bit, where I'm at, the market's nuts. Florida, I mean, super low inventory, very high demand right now. Obviously a lot of fear of missing out is kind of happening too. People are buying property, in my opinion, for just, it's ridiculous amount where they can build for less. Me being on the building end and in real estate, I'm like, you could build for less and get what you want, but you're buying that because you don't want to wait. So
Right.
obviously stuff like this doesn't last forever. And the last podcast I just launched, her name was Lisa Florida. She specializes in short sales, foreclosures, all that kind of stuff. She's out in Southern Cal. We were talking about, the downfall, the market, what's going to happen, COVID, people not paying mortgages. Where do you see your end of things going? If you own all these investment properties, is it going to benefit you if things go down hill as far as real estate? Obviously, a pullback's coming. What goes up must come down. It can't go up forever. It can't sustain this. Pullbacks are healthy. Do you see that happening? What happens to somebody like you with multifamily? What happens to these investors you're training and teaching? Like, how do you recover? Let's go into that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's a big thing that, especially for first-time investors, this always comes up. Like,
because that's one of their fears too. Sorry to cut you off, because it's always a fear of what what's coming. Like, what if I get burnt? I put money in the property now, but the market's hot. Why should I just wait?
Right. So yeah, exactly. So the way that we think about it, we love to use analogies, right? So if you're a really good fisherman, you're going to be able to find fish regardless of whether there's a big school of fish or there's, a couple of fish in the pond somewhere. Like, you're going to know where to find those fish. And another thing that we do that we really focus on is that we buy distressed assets with a margin of safety. So we have a very, it's more art than science, but we have a framework that we follow. And if something doesn't fit the framework, we're not going to go after it. You really have to, some people fall in love with sexy properties. We fall in love with sexy numbers. Okay. And so if it's like a deal that, clearly the market has, taken something out of control, we just say, no, we're good. So I try not to worry about market fluctuations. I work in the stock market. The thing is, you cannot predict what the market's going to do. I mean, you can say things kind of look overvalued right now, or things kind of look undervalued right now, or things are kind of in the middle of the historical norms. But the reality is, if someone tells you they know what the market's going to do, they're either lying or they just don't know what they're talking about. So I try not to predict that stuff. We try to control the things that we have control over, which are your entry. That's why I love real estate, right? Because if you're buying a stock, you don't have much control over it. Real estate, you have a ton of control. You control your entry price and your exit price. You can control the income of the asset, and you control the expenses of the asset. And through your relationships, you have a certain level of control over your financing as well. So, look, I think people that are concerned about a downturn a lot of people honestly make excuses about why they don't want to get into it because they're worried in general. I have friends that or people that I know that have wanted to get into real estate for many, many years, and they just have never pulled the trigger. And there's always going to be a reason why. It's like, oh, I just had a kid. Oh, I'm working on a rehab in my personal home, or the bonus might not be that good this year, or there's always a reason why. You have to flip the switch and say, why do I want to do it? Do you have a strong enough why to make you do it regardless? And then do you have the right coach to tell you this is a good deal, or you should stay away from this? So I think it's it's more of a mindset thing than an actual worrying about what the market's going to do.
So are you guys judging deals for people? Basically, they're sending you guys deals. That's part of your coaching. You're saying the numbers.
So if part of our monthly check-in is how you doing? You're looking at deals, and we'll help them if they have a deal on their plate. We can say or even if they're looking at a certain market and they don't know, or if they're trying to build a team, we'll be we can leverage our realtor referral program, or we can give you the introduction to our property managers. But yeah, we're going to help them on those monthly check-in calls if they have a deal that they're looking at. So one of our students the most recent boot camp was on February 20th, and one of the students already is under contract on a rental. So down in Georgia. So I think it's more of, you got to make a decision whether or not you really want to do this. And if you decide that you're going to do it, you're going to find, like, you can find a deal pretty much in any market.
So are you targeting more with your students? Are you targeting more annual rental income properties or vacation rental income properties? Because where I'm at, obviously, it's a ton of vacation rentals, but
Yeah.
you see if the market pulls back, I don't see vacation rentals producing on a weekly basis. The annual rentals,
Yeah.
people are going to need a place to go. So
we always say, like, riches are in the niches, right? And our niche is right now is, residential rental real estate. I think that there are probably people that are very cut out for vacation homes, but I always say, like, I got into real estate to work less, not work more. And I think that when you have that much turnover in a vacation rental, it just becomes like a ton of work. And like you said, you have a much bigger, vacancy becomes much more of an issue. And so that's why we're geared more towards single, like, our boot camp is geared towards getting you into, like, residential single family, which is 1 to 4 units. And then we're actually working on, we're going to have in May, would be a mastermind course, which is going to be 3 months. That'll be much more like intimate, like a smaller group, but that'll be focused on multifamily residential. So yeah, it's look, you're a developer, and I'm sure you make great money doing that. I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to coach people how to do it. So that's what we stick to what we know.
Yeah, and what you're saying though too, like, why work harder? Because it is true, like, vacation rentals require you to either, if you want to do it yourself, God bless you. I mean, I almost got into the vacation. I was thinking about it, and then I saw what it entails and how much you got to deal with people 24 hours a day. You're a hotel concierge, basically, is what you're with that. Versus an annual rental, you got your annual tenant. Yeah, it'd be nice to find a good tenant that's going to obviously take care of the property and so on too, because you want that, not going to trash it. That's one of the things you got to look out for. Let's go there. What do you look out for? Like, how do you deal with your rental side of things? We're getting to the end here, before I get into some personal stuff, but how do you maintain what you have, as far as how do you know that they're not trashing your properties, or they're, somebody's in there having a crack party or something like that?
That's super important. So when I started in Indiana, we didn't have any footprint out there. So I interviewed every single property manager in town over the phone. We have, like, a proprietary list of questions that we give our students in order to interview property managers. And then I actually traveled out there. I was going out there about once a month the first year I started, and then I tapered to, so I fly into Indy and then drive to the town. And then I was doing that maybe like every 2 or 3 months the second year. And now I go, once every 4 or 5 months. But the reality is, like, I interviewed every property manager, and then I went out there and interviewed in person the guy that I pretty sure I was going to go with. And they've become, like, an incredibly trusted partner. And the cool thing about him is that they have an in-house contractor. So they do project oversight for us. And he's also an investor himself. Oh. So, I get a ton of off-market deals from them. And I also, know it's someone who is not, like, they're coming at it from an investor mindset. So, like, they're checking in with it. They're making sure that they're screening the tenants the right way, that, they would want to have that person in their rental. They're also, they're doing biannual check-ins where they're actually, doing a walkthrough to make sure they're not trashing the place. But I think it's really important to have that mindset. And then in the Philadelphia area, KAYR actually built his own property management company from scratch. So we have boots on the ground that are checking. And in Philadelphia, we actually do in-person, in your current home interviews with the tenants before we ever let you interview. And we don't meet you at Starbucks. It's like we want to see how you live in your place, because we're not going to rent to you if it's a shit show inside your apartment, like you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I mean, placing tenants is incredibly important, and you want to, like you said, you want to protect your assets. So we're big on that.
So what are you paying? I keep thinking of stuff too, but I'm trying to save stuff too, so people will buy your program. Because I mean, you got a ton of knowledge, man, and as far as like paying a property manager though, that's probably a question that would come to some. I know on average on a vacation rental, they're paying them like 20% on average or whatever. What do you pay as far as
nationally it's more like 10 for a regular rental. And we obviously do much better than that in the Philadelphia area because it's in-house. And like I always say, everything's negotiable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's any good.
But you can kind of use 10 as a benchmark.
Yeah, and the more you take on, the more that property company or the more that company manages too. I'm sure the number will go down a little bit too, giving them more action. So it makes sense too. I mean, as far as let's go into this a little bit, then we'll get into personal stuff too. What about buying an investment property? What are some things you're looking for, right now? Obviously, at the beginning, you talked about that, but investing in something that's not all, a complete gut job. But what about now? What are you looking at?
Right now, I'm just trying to get bigger. So the last one that KAYR and I bought was a 24 unit. Next one we want to do is I want it to be bigger than that, and I want to keep scaling up. So in the apartment space, we still buy distressed assets. And yeah, like there's going to be, if it's a distressed asset that's been mismanaged, you're going to have deferred maintenance. You're going to have to do, things to decrease operating expenses. So like we'd like to find places that have like really inflated expense lines. If you think about it, it's almost like a private equity shop for real estate. So one of the things we do is we go in and we change all the faucets, all the toilets, all the shower heads to be water sense. That cuts the water bill. We put in all LED lights to kill the electric bill. And then, typically in a place that's been mismanaged, the rents are below market because they've gotten comfortable getting these checks coming in and they're not trying to kind of rock the boat with the tenants, but we go in and we get rents up to market. It's very like contact sport, the way that we approach it. So yeah, I would say, the next thing we're trying to do is just like a bigger apartment deal. But we really focus on, trying to get our students, especially first time students, to focus on the easy breezy cover girl, like 1 to 4 unit residential properties, because I think it's better to learn in a non-stressful way. Yeah. So that in the most simple way possible. So that's kind of the way that we think about it. I
highly agree. You can't just be thrown into a 40-something unit property, not knowing what to do and so on. I mean, so say they go in for a 4 unit, how do they know? So you connect them with a real estate professional, basically, that the property is for sale, or are they going back door basically and saying, hey, or would you sell me your property? How are you getting these assets, finding them? Are they looking online? Where can people go locate stuff? Or are they got to locate through you? Or how do you work?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we say that we accept blessings from all directions. So you can, I found great deals on Zillow, Trulia. I've used auction.com, which is foreclosed properties. We do off-market deals. Pretty much like I bought a house off my contractor. I bought a house off he wholesaled that to me. I bought houses off of my property manager. So really it's like you want to work every funnel possible. From like a student's perspective, we would expect that they would try to do the same thing. But to your point, we do one of the big benefits of the boot camp is that they get access to our networks. So all of a sudden they're getting deal flow. Like they're saying like, is anyone interested in this? Are you interested in that? This or that deal. So that's I think that's part of a huge part of the value add, honestly, is the fact that because like for real estate, it's really like we talk about the 3 R's. It's a reputation, track record, and relationships. Yeah. And like relationships are huge, right? Like I think the last 9 units I bought in Indiana have all been off market.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But that's not to say that you can't find a great deal. Like my business partner KAYR purchased 5 single families in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that were on like literally connected to each other, and he found it on the MLS, and it was like a home run deal. So if you are keen and you know what to look for, the deals are out there. You just have to you got to be tenacious, and you gotta look.
Yeah, knowledge too, and learn from people like yourself too. It's key in any business, anything too. Just got to learn, and then personal experience, obviously too, like you said, and getting out there and doing it. instead of just talking about it. That's key too.
Yeah, taking action.
Yeah, I mean, we can go on for hours, so people are going to have to connect with you to find out more on this one, or I'll have to bring you on at some point.
Okay, yeah.
But I want to get into some personal stuff because I know you got to go. What about you personally? I always ask this question. You know, what lessons have you learned throughout your journey that we could all apply to our own business, our own selves, that can help us grow?
I think people are I think people are capable of a lot more than they realize. Like, I don't want to get like too spiritual here, but I kind of believe that I believe that there's like like a global, like a universal intelligence, right? That we can all really tap into if we kind of like quiet our minds down, and like the answers will come to you. But you have to like work really hard to get there. And like, if you read about any of the greatest inventors or any of the greatest leaders, like basically what they were able to do was just have a goal, visualize the goal, believe, like really, really believe. Like the way that I describe it is like, you have to have the belief in yourself the same way you believe the sun's going to come up in the morning. And if you can get to that point, you really can start doing things that you're just like, holy shit, I didn't think I could do that. And then like, you're like, well, what else can I do? So what I would say is start to, if you want to get started, start working on yourself first instead of focusing on the business. Like start thinking like, what's my self-talk? Like, how do I talk to myself in my mind on a day-to-day basis? And one of the big things that I do is like, I have mantras that I say like every morning when I wake up, every night before I go to sleep. And, you know, it takes a while for them to kick in. So it's not something where it's going to happen overnight. But if you stick with stuff like this and you really have that vision and you hold it steadily in your mind, like things are going to start happening where you're just going to be like, is this real? Like, is this really happening right now? So I would just say belief in yourself is incredibly, incredibly important.
I love that answer. I mean, because it's the first major thing too is it does start with yourself, working on yourself, getting yourself in line, and your focus and everything like that too is so key. So what you said right there, but the rest too is, I mean, law of attraction. I'm a big believer in that too. What you think can come true as long as you feel it too. I mean, just sitting here, I just got chills just sitting here. Three private planes just flew over right here. And I looked up at one time during this too. You'll probably see it on YouTube when I launch it, because a plane flew over. And I'm like, yeah, one day, because that's always in my vision when I visualize. And, you know, maybe it's something with me and you, something, I don't know, but it's like, you know, maybe I get into real estate with you one day or something like that. I mean, it's always those connections though, you know, that you make, you just never know, but you visualize these things, and if you have a feeling behind it, that it is true and it is reality, it's crazy how the mind works and how much it can come true. So what you said, I mean, it's not just something spiritual. It is true, man. That's the truth. And everything you really visualize will come true with hard work, obviously.
Yeah, people don't realize how powerful their minds are.
Oh, yeah.
Everything you see around you, like every building, all started as an idea in someone's mind, and they turned it into a reality because they really believed they could. So, yeah. Have you ever read Neville Goddard?
No.
Yeah. I'll send you some stuff offline, but I think you really,
send that to me for sure. Yeah. For sure. I'm big into law of attractions. I'm a big believer in it. You know, the work you put into something, I talk about it on the show too. Obviously you'll get out of life is what you put into it. But I mean, I'm big into visualizing, and you just really got to get a feeling of that it is there and it does come true too. And it will. I mean, it's powerful, man. What you said is powerful. So that was awesome right there. Another question I always ask every guest too is I ask about your past. Let's hear about your future. So where will we see Joe Meares in 5, 10, 15 years from now? Who will you?
I might be on a beach somewhere in 5 years. No, I've always trying to find like a new thing to get into. So like after I graduated from college, I boxed in college. Like I never boxed before. After I graduated from college, I couldn't really box anymore. So I got into salsa dancing, did that for a while. I do I actually do personal training on the side as well. So I'm very into like pushing my body to the limit. Obviously you are as well. You did the hard 75. And I think you said you were a former college athlete, which is awesome. So I do run marathons, and I've done a couple of Ironmans, and I'm actually running a 50-mile race in May. So I'm always kind of just like trying to see like, how can I push myself in different ways? But I'm really looking forward to having like real financial freedom, leaving my 9 to 5, hopefully within the next 5 years, and building out KayJay Consulting into more of like a lifestyle thing. I think it's real estate's cool because you do have to have like a certain mindset, and you can kind of like branch out of it into other things. So I kind of taken like a holistic approach to like mental, spiritual, and financial fitness. So I would love in 5 years for what KayJay Consulting is to be more than just a real estate coaching brand.
There are so many aspects in real estate. You are right that you can go. There are so many different avenues, I should say. It's crazy. Like and that's what happened with on the building end. Obviously, I'm a real estate broker too. So I sell real estate for people, and then also build houses, and then also do home watch, then also do, and there's so many avenues you can go with it, and start companies and businesses. And so, I mean, what you're doing is helping people get started. So, I could definitely appreciate what you're doing, man.
Thanks, man.
I have no doubt that you guys are going to blow up too, because you can just sense too, like me talking to you and everything. There goes another plane. Me talking to you right now, though, you can just sense like you're out to help people. You're just not out just to sell people. That's the major difference with you too. Because there's so many people just trying to make a quick buck, and especially like in coaching and everything too. How many coaches do you see online now that, like 20-something-year-old kid saying he's a coach? Like, what have you been through in life, to be able to coach? You haven't been through anything. Like, it's like, but you see it all the time, and then you post it up in front of the Lamborghini, and so.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So anyway, but last question, this is what the show is all about. What exactly do people need to look for when investing in real estate, and why choose Joe Meares and KayJay Consulting as their coach?
Yeah, you want to look for an undervalued asset that has monthly cash flow. And the way you do that is you analyze the numbers. Like, you look at the real numbers. You don't make up numbers. You don't, like, we always expect the worst, or like prepare for the worst, hope for the best. So you want to put in like actual numbers that have already been occurring at the property, see what the numbers look like, and if that fits your criteria, then go for it. But like I said, it all starts with your own mindset. And in terms of like why you should work with us, I think that the background story is the reason why, right? So like my business partner KAYR is just like an incredibly inspirational person, but he really methodically built out a portfolio of over 100 rental units, right? But what happens is that when you get that experience, if you're smart, you can condense it. So I was able to go from 0 to 60 units in less than 2 years. And now we're packaging this course so that you can do the same thing if you want to by working with us. So we're basically, we're showing you the framework, and we're really simplifying it. We are very big into KISS, keep it simple, smart. And this is really for anyone that wants to achieve financial independence. So we would love to have you guys work with us.
Love it, man. Yeah, it's been awesome.
And you can, I just want to say, like, if they are interested, they can find us at KayJay Consulting on Instagram. That's KayJayConsulting. And then our website is linked in our bio on IG, but the website is kayjayconsulting.net.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you too. So as far as your course and everything, obviously they can go there to sign up. Any kind of cost you want to give, or any kind of background on it?
For sure. Yeah, so the normal price is $449. We're doing a special for $349 right now. Yeah, and we also do
yearly, or how?
That's so the boot camp itself is 1 day, right? It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on April 17th. We may do another one this year. I'm not sure yet. And then you get monthly check-in calls every month for a year, like you mentioned, or monthly. Sorry, we will reach out to you through email monthly. You have questions, you can bounce them back off of us. And then we also give you access to our real estate networks. And on the day of the bootcamp itself, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the fundamentals of real estate investing, including like key terms, key ratios, key team members that you need to have, and the key questions you want to be asking these team members. And you're going to get a PDF with all that information on it. Then we're going to go through how to analyze a market, how to analyze the neighborhood within the market, and then how to analyze a specific property. And we have an analyzer spreadsheet that has all the metrics that we use and like where to find those metrics online. And then within the specific property, we're going to give you like the key hurdles that you want to be hitting. So like, okay, this is probably a good investment. I'm going to go after this one. That's our framework. And then you're going to access to our networks, as I mentioned, and access to us. And we're going to tell you about, more war stories and like success stories that we've had over the last 12 plus years of investing in real estate.
Love it, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Definitely send me that link too. I'll definitely share it.
I appreciate that.
People can get some access to you as well. Social media handles. What's your social media? Where they can find you?
So on Instagram, it's at KAYJAY CONSULTING at KayJay Consulting. Okay. And then if you go to the Instagram page, our website is the link in our bio. But if you just want to go straight to go to the Instagram and find the website. It's better off. Just follow us. Like, we're always dropping knowledge. We have Monday motivational videos. We have Tuesday quick tips. We have Workout Wednesday, where I've shown you guys like different workouts that I do. We have Financial Literacy Fridays, and we're posting like motivational quotes and motivational passages from books that I've read every single day. So, and then we have pop quizzes every day too, where you're actually learning about real estate within the page. And we try to keep it fun. We have we go live every Tuesday at noon as well. So there's a lot of knowledge being dropped, and yes, we try to have fun with it.
Cool, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on today. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been fun. I can kind of tell like right off the bat that we were gonna click. So yeah, it's been a fun time.
Oh, it makes it easier that way. Yeah, these shows too. It just makes the conversation easier. Like I said, I can roll on for another week. This show for like 3 hours, brother. But yeah, no, it's been good, man. I appreciate it. Definitely. Go check Joe out, whoever's listening to this. I got a lot of variety of different listeners on my show, so definitely sign up for his course too. He's a real deal. I'll share a link to that as well. So everybody listening, I appreciate you all. As usual, I only ask for one thing: 5 stars only. Obviously on iTunes, like, subscribe on YouTube. I appreciate everybody that listens, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.